Hi, this is Alicia from Be Mobile Physio, and this video is about the pelvic floor in women. So I'm going to run you through what the pelvic floor is, why it's important to keep the pelvic floor muscles strong and functioning well, and some basic exercises to get you started. But firstly, I do want to stress that if you're having any persistent symptoms related to your pelvic floor that are really bothering you and affecting your day-to-day life, we would highly recommend going and seeing a women's health specialist physio. So if you're experiencing things like pelvic pain, painful sex, leaking, difficulty emptying your bladder and bowels, or perhaps losing control of your bladder or bowels, or maybe you have feelings of prolapse, which can feel like a heaviness or bulge in your pelvic area. If you're experiencing any of these symptoms or anything else that's troubling you, please go and see a women's health specialist, because they can assess you individually and treat you and give you really effective treatments. Okay, so what is the pelvic floor? Well, as you can see, the pelvic floor runs like a sling or a hammock from your pubic bone at the front of your pelvis to your tailbone at the back. And the pelvic floor muscles and tissue function to support your bladder, bowel, and uterus. They're also extremely important in your bladder and bowel function, as well as your sexual function. Now, there's a number of things that can weaken your pelvic floor, and these include things like being pregnant, giving birth, getting older, straining if you're constipated, or perhaps you have a chronic cough. These are a few of the things that can weaken your pelvic floor. And that's why it's so important that we strengthen your pelvic floor and keep these muscles functioning optimally so that you can support and control your bladder and bowel. So how do you strengthen your pelvic floor muscles? Well, there's two main phases to a pelvic floor exercise. Firstly, you have your contraction or your lifting of the pelvic floor. And secondly, you have your relaxation or your letting go phase. Now, this relaxation phase is just as important as the contraction phase. Now, I'll relate this to strengthening our biceps. If I were to do a bicep curl, I would contract my biceps, and then I would fully lengthen my biceps by straightening my arm. Now, this might seem really obvious, but some women do have trouble relaxing their pelvic floor muscles. So we're going to be focusing equally on getting that lift and squeeze as a contraction with the pelvic floor, and then also letting go and relaxing and really feeling a distinct letting go of the pelvic floor muscles when we do our exercises. Okay, so now we're going to get into doing some pelvic floor exercises. I would recommend starting on the floor, because this takes gravity out of the equation and it also takes the load off the pelvic floor. So it gives you a better chance to really feel a strong contraction and relaxation. So find a comfortable spot and lay down on your back. Have your knees bent up and your feet flat on the floor. And just really try to make everything nice and relaxed. Relax your pelvic floor muscles, your thighs and your buttocks. And firstly, we're going to start with squeezing around your back passage as if you're going to try to stop yourself from breaking wind. So let's give that a go now. Ready, and squeeze and lift and relax. And now when you relax, really try to feel a distinctive letting go. Relax your buttocks, thighs and pelvic floor. And then we're going to do another squeeze around the back passage. Ready, and squeeze and letting go again. And really feel that letting go. This time we're going to squeeze around the front part of the pelvic floor, around your vagina, and this should feel like you were going to try to stop yourself from urinating. So let's give that a go now. Ready, squeeze and relax, and really try to feel that relaxation and lengthening of the pelvic floor muscles. And one more time, squeezing around your vagina, squeeze and letting go. Okay, so in both of those exercises, when you're squeezing the pelvic floor muscles, you should feel the pelvic floor muscles coming up towards your belly button. That's the direction of pull that you want to be feeling with the muscle. Now we're going to combine squeezing the front and back at the same time. So squeezing around your back passage and your vagina, and we're going to be activating the whole pelvic floor at the same time. Ready, and squeeze and lift and relax, and really feel that letting go and that dropping and that relaxation. And we're going to be doing 2 more of these. So squeeze and lift the front and back of the pelvic floor, and relax and let go. And we're going to do 1 more of these. Squeezing and lifting and letting go. So how should you progress your pelvic floor strengthening? Well, there's no hard and fast rules to it, but firstly I would encourage you just to focus on getting a really strong sense of a contraction and a relaxation. That is the most important thing. When you feel comfortable with that, then you can progress it like you would any other strengthening exercise, with increasing your number of reps and sets. So you might start off doing between 8 and 12 reps, and over time you might add more sets into it. So you can do 2 rounds of 8 to 12 and then 3 rounds of 8 to 12. Another thing you can do is increase the duration of your hold. So today we were holding our contraction for about 1 or 2 seconds. You can increase that duration of holding that squeeze for up to 8 to 10 seconds. So that's another way you can improve the strength and endurance of your pelvic floor exercises. And you can change your position. So starting on the floor, as I mentioned, is the easiest way to start activating your pelvic floor. As you get better at it and you've increased your number of reps, your sets, and also the duration of your hold, you can move towards doing it in a sitting position. So you can sit in a chair, and then you will also progress to doing it standing up. And when you're standing up, you are working against gravity, and you also have an increased load of your body sitting on top of your pelvic floor. So there are some ways to progress your exercises, and just remember, incorporate it into your daily routine like you would any other exercise. So I hope this video has been helpful in getting you started with some pelvic floor strengthening exercises. Now remember, if you are having persistent problems that are not resolving, please go and see a women's health specialist physiotherapist. And remember that strengthening your pelvic floor muscles is just as important as strengthening any other muscle in our body, and it's important to incorporate these exercises into your regular routine. I hope you found this clip helpful.